Elon Musk is mocking his critics who say Twitter's suspension of several journalists accounts amounts to censorship, tweeting, quote, "So inspiring to see the newfound love of freedom of speech by the press." This is after the Twitter accounts belonging to multiple journalists, including our own Donny O'Sullivan, were suspended for reporting about an account that tracked his private jet. Tom Foreman is out front.
Everyone's going to be treated the same. They're not special because you're a journalist.
Elon Musk is on defense over Twitter's sudden banning of several high-profile tech journalists, including some at the Washington Post, New York Times, and CNN, claiming they violated Twitter policy by sharing information about an online account tracking his private plane using publicly available information, what he calls assassination coordinates. Musk says that is the same as doxing, the practice of targeting someone by publicly sharing their address and other private information.
You dox, you get suspended. End of story.
But for others, Musk's actions show something else.
I think this is really about Elon Musk having very thin skin. And he does not like when people are aggressively reporting on him or his companies. And he doesn't like when people are very sharp in their criticism of him. And if you look at the group of people who were banned, all of them had that in common.
The new Twitter boss has posed as a champion of free speech, lifting a ban imposed on former President Donald Trump after the January 6th riot, freeing the account of Congressmember Marjorie Taylor Greene, which had been frozen over coronavirus misinformation. Musk even tweeted just over a month ago, "My commitment to free speech extends even to not banning the account following my plane, even though that is a direct personal safety risk." But now, that account has been banned too.
I think the actions we've seen from Elon Musk are extremely disturbing.
Without doubt, the sharing of private information about public figures can be dangerous. And Musk recently tweeted that a man had confronted a vehicle carrying his son. But
instead of going to the police, what he did was publish a picture of that individual and asked his 120 million followers to identify them.
And Tom is with us now. So Tom, perhaps coincidentally, Musk tonight is highlighting the latest release of the so-called Twitter files. What do they show?
It doesn't look like a coincidence. The Twitter files, in this case, basically, it's a long thread talking about the idea that the FBI and Twitter, pre-Musk, were way too cozy, and that the FBI and Twitter were working together to, in a sense, suppress concerns that were being raised by the right about election practices, all sorts of things like that. This is real clickbait for people on the right who want to say, yeah, that's the problem. Others who have looked at it said, no, it's a messy process. We as journalists are always checking in with agencies to make sure that what we're reporting is true. And if they say it's not, we try to do something about that and make sure the truth gets out there. So the Twitter files, exciting to the right, not so much to everybody else.
All right, Tom Foreman, thanks so much. And out front now, Aaron Rupar, a prominent liberal journalist whose Twitter account was suddenly suspended. Hi, Aaron. So let's look at the tweet that Twitter told you was why you were suspended. You were pointing out that the Elon Jet account that tracked Musk's private jet was still on Facebook with a link to it. And tonight, your account on Twitter, it looks like this. Have you heard anything else from Twitter about your suspension, how long it might be?
I have not. So I have been mostly relying on Elon's tweets to have any sense of when I may be reinstated. Of course, he has a poll up right now asking people if myself and the other journalists who were banned should be reinstated immediately or in a week. So that does kind of imply that a reinstatement is coming at some point. But to circle back to the tweet that you mentioned, when I posted that on Wednesday, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would get in trouble for that. At the time, you might remember that that was in the news, the Elon Jet account, because it had been banned on Twitter, despite Elon saying a few weeks ago that his commitment to free speech extended even to that account, which he clearly did not like and thought endangered his family for reasons that are kind of unclear to me. But when I posted that on Wednesday morning, I certainly thought it was innocuous. And then hours later, Elon announced this new policy where even linking to accounts of that sort, he is construing as a threat, as doxing. And so when I tried to log into Twitter yesterday evening, after getting messages from people that my account had been suspended, I had a notice at the top of my account that indeed I had been permanently suspended. And here we are.
Yeah, you must have been pretty darn surprised by that. So last night, Musk said, posting a link to someone's personal information is the same as posting that personal information outright. let's take a look at some of this heated back and forth with journalists.
I never posted your address.
You posted a link to the address.
We posted a link. In the course of reporting about Elon Jet, we posted links to Elon Jet, which are now not online and now banned on Twitter.
You're doxxed, you get suspended, end of story. That's it.
Elon, I have to ask, I mean, I think what everyone's wondering is it's highly unusual for journalists at the Washington Post and the New York Times to have their Twitter accounts suspended. And it just so happens that it's, the boss in charge, so, what's the deal there? Oh, I think Elon has left.
So, of course, we should note here, Musk does own Twitter. It is a private company. He essentially can do as he pleases. Why should the public be paying attention to this story, Aaron? For those of us who maybe aren't on Twitter or aren't as engaged in that community.
That's a good question. I mean, I can't really begrudge people for not caring. I've actually been kind of surprised today how much people do care. I mean, I've been doing media hits all day, including some international hits, including some international outlets who, have asked me about kind of the free speech aspect of this. And I've explained to them that, as you mentioned, Elon Musk owns the platform. The rules are his to determine at this point. And if he wants to kick people out of his playground, so to speak, he's welcome to do that. I mean, I do think that Twitter has been very vital for reporters in the past decade or so in terms of reporting, gathering information, talking to sources. And so to the extent that journalists who are trying to inform the public about things that are going on lose access to a vital tool, that can damage society more broadly in terms of getting timely information out, getting clear information out, accurate information out. But, I can certainly understand if you're not on Twitter kind of seeing this as sort of an obscure story. So, to me, obviously, it's a vital professional tool, given that I run a newsletter business. I have 800,000 or so followers, or had that many. So putting me off from that hurts. But again, if people don't care, I can't blame them for that.
Yeah, no, I follow you on Twitter. I'm more of a observer than a tweeter myself, but it is a vital tool that I use a lot in my reporting to see what's going on, and I think that context that you gave is important. Aaron Rupar, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pamela. Great to join you.
Well, out front, up next, the missing American college student stunning in France has been found alive in Spain.